Okay. All right, so a couple things I want to tell you up front. I know that we're about 4 days into the class, so it's a 9-week class. But with the textbook, I want you to realize that, first of all, this author, Lehne, he teaches using prototypes first. Second, he uses large print for essential information, and he uses smaller print for secondary information. And so that's important as you go through each chapter to recognize the print size and what's pertinent. Not that the small print size isn't pertinent, but it's secondary. Third, presenting adverse drug effects and interactions that matter the most. Obviously, there are really dangerous or even life-threatening drug adverse effects, and then some that interactions as well. And then there are common ones. So I don't want you to memorize a full list of things. Most things that are listed occur in folks greater than 10% of the time. So that's really not a lot. So as you go through the Lehne text, you realize that he won't list a lot of the, all the adverse effects that you would find, say, in a drug guide. In a drug guide, it goes through systems, and I'll talk to you in a minute about using a drug guide. Now, I know I'm talking to experienced nurses and everything, but perhaps this is a review, but it's sometimes these basic little fundamental things that help really get us further down the road. And the last thing is he uses evidence-based clinical guidelines. And as you know, there's clinical guidelines, and evidence-based nursing is really important to our practice. Learning supplements for you guys, you could go to, which is for you guys, evolve.elsevier. And then I don't have enough room, .com and /Lehne. Okay, so that, if you can see that, and I think my cameraman can focus in on it, but what's here are flashcards. Flashcards are really cool because it kind of takes you through just the meat and potatoes of drugs. In this class, and the way Lehne presents it, he presents stuff in basically prototypes. So for instance, let's say a beta blocker. A beta blocker prototype would be metoprolol. So we'll look at metoprolol, but as you know, most beta blockers work the same way. So there's really no need to memorize every beta blocker available. Now, we might know certain beta blockers are for certain specific uses. Coreg, for instance, in heart failure, used to be not too many years ago. A lot of you remember that heart failure was a contraindication to beta blockers. Well, now we found out that actually beta blockers help in heart failure. Other things available here to your audio drug pronunciation. Isn't that great? A lot of times we run across new drugs, especially generics, I can't even pronounce. And there are other materials there for you. I'd also suggest that you read the preface to the text, because he explains pharmacology and integrates with understanding of physiology and pathophysiology. Each chapter basically is laid out. For instance, let's say thyroid. They're going into thyroid physiology of the hormones, T3, T4, and all that, and even the thyroid gland. My focus won't be on patho, it won't be really on physiology, except as to where it directly relates to the administration of a drug. And then he goes into the drugs and what the indications and things like that. Let's see, I had a little eraser here. I'm going to go out of the screen for a minute. So that's just another resource for you. And I put up on the news page on D2L that link to the Davis Drug Guide as well. And I mentioned teaching through prototypes, okay? And then basically also a layout, organization in Lehne or any really drug book. For instance, a drug, let's say enoxaparin. So in a drug book, most drug books will show the generic, and then we know it's a Lovenox. And And quickly, then it'll list, I'm looking at enoxaparin now, but if I go to the front of this particular drug book, it kind of tells you a quick reference guide to a drug monograph. So you get with a generic, and then the trade name, and then even how to pronounce it, pregnancy category, and approved therapeutic uses for enoxaparin. It'll list out things like anticoagulation for post-op hip replacement and things like that. Controlled substances. It'll talk about actions or kinetics, so mechanism of action, and that's important to know. How does the drug actually work in the body? Plasma levels needed to be achieved. Things like half-life. So those are concepts you'll want to know. Plasma protein binding, really important. Contraindications and special concerns, side effects, lab tests considered, overdose management, drug interactions, herbals, how does it come supplied, dosage, nursing considerations, very important. So a lot of these nursing drug guides and also Lehne are set up as a nursing process. So you get the assessment, nursing diagnosis, evaluation, implementation, planning, implementation, and evaluation. So it's really important to know that, because that's kind of how you can organize your thinking about a particular drug, in this case, enoxaparin or Lovenox. So, and when we start looking at specific drugs for specific disease states, you'll need to know kind of those things in order. Fortunately, although there are drug-drug interactions, the more drugs that a person's on, there are important drug interactions that we'll want to focus on. So I hope some of this has been of a little help to you in terms of organizing and trying to put things in order. Okay? Good enough. I'll see you a little later.